Good morning, sir.
Oh, good morning, Dr. Sahu. How are you?
Sir, we are fine, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, good morning to all.
Sir,
Yeah.
we can start, sir. Dr. Sir is our here.
Yeah.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone.
Uh, Hello, Devapriya. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good, Kamle sir. How are you?
No, I'm okay. Fine. Says at least we are able to see each other on the
Yeah, yeah. In the
virtual term.
virtual world. Virtual world.
Good. How are things at your end?
Going on. Like it's
Good.
fine. PST is
Uh,
going at its own rate.
Good.
Good morning, Kanan, sir. Namaste.
Good morning, Narottam. Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Vinay.
I'm Vinay Kamble here.
Good guy.
So where are you nowadays, Kamle sir? Are you in Pune? Like where are you settled?
No, I'm at
Yes,
Ahmedabad.
Oh, you're in Ahmedabad.
I'm settled down in Ahmedabad.
Okay.
And having lots of collaboration with GUJCOST and Dr. Sahu.
किसका? I think, sir, you can start the program. I can start.
Okay, sir. A very warm and pleasant morning to one and all. I, Dr. Akanksha, welcome you all on behalf of Gujarat Council on Science and Technology to mark the celebration of Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav. Vigyan Utsav is being launched by Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, which is celebrated every month with specific theme. The theme for the April month is Science and Society. The role of science and technology in the societal development varies from state to state and is an important part of STI ecosystem. So, proceeding with the program, I invite Dr. Narottam Sahu sir to welcome address and brief the program.
Good morning, everybody. Respected Dr. B.B. Kamble sir, Dr. Devapriya Datta sir, advisor and head, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, C Division, SSTP, Dr. Kanand Srinivasan, and the Director of Central Salt and Chemical Research, Marine Chemical Research Institute, CSR, CSMRI, Bhavnagar, Professor K. N. Joshipura sir, the very senior professor of Sourashtra University, and very good science uh, popularization mentor, writer, and the very active member of Indian Association of Physics Teacher. All our faculties at University Department in Gujarat, all the Community Science Center coordinators, science communicators, all the directors, director generals, and scientific officers of all state S&T councils all across the country, and the students and our participants. On behalf of Gujarat Council on Science and Technology, Department of Science and Technology, Government of Gujarat, and our state S&T Council program under Department of Science and Technology, Government of Gujarat, Government of India, we would like to welcome all of you to this Vigyan Utsav program for the month of April 2022. It's a great initiative by the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, under its network of state science technology council programs, to celebrate this Azadi ki Amrit Mahotsav, the 75th glorious year of our Indian independence, in the development of STI ecosystem all across the country, all across the our networks, all across the society also. So it's a aims to bring that identify the local issues, establish the local STI ecosystems, so that the Science Technology Council can do the best job in coordinating the programs, activities on STI ecosystems, research and development, all the things in coordination with the state governments as well as the government of India. So the program is going on in a very encouraging and a very good feedback and see these things. We are very much thankful to our mentor and our head, Dr. Devapriya Dutta sir, at DST, Government of India, who has conceptualized this program of a 12-month program, every month dedicated to a particular theme and to be coordinated by one state S&T council and to be followed up by the other state S&T councils. So this was started in September 2021, and we at GUJCOST we have the privilege to host this program for the month of November in the theme R&D infrastructure in the state. So otherwise every month one of our state S&T council, so they are the hosting the program in the wholehearted manner, and the other state S&T councils are still followed the same thing as per the program schedule designed by our mutual understanding and to be monitored by our SSTP network program. So in that way, today we are in April, 5th April, on the theme Science and Society. So we have very eminent faculties like veteran faculty like Dr. Vinay Kamble sir, who has the former advisor to Department of Science and Technology, and also retired as director of Vigyan Prasar, which is basically a physicist, but develop a lot of materials and modules for science education, popularizations, taking science to the society as per the societal needs and requirement like that way. We also have Dr. Kanand Srinivasan, who is heading the one of the leading lab of CSR network, the CSMRI Bhavnagar, and understanding the local issues and developing the appropriate technology demonstration, technology to the market and all the things with the local needs, national needs, and to the entrepreneurial requirements also. And we have very veteran educationist policymaker, Professor Dr. K. N. Joshipura sir, who has a very luminous carrier, as well as the session we can say as a very popular and very effective physics professor, teacher, mentor. And again, after his retirement, also he is equally active with various activities with the Indian Association of Physics Teacher, Gujarat Science Academy, GUJCOST, Science City, and all of our community science center. And above all, we have Dr. Devapriya Datta sir, who is the advisor and head of SEED division, SSTP division, and the very senior scientist G at the Department of Science and Technology, and who is giving a new dimension to this S&T Councils network and S&T taking S&T to the grassroots level. We have the DST members, Dr. Rasmi Sharma Madam, Dr. Ravi Kamji, all our State S&T Council directors, director generals, member secretaries, and the scientific officers. And this program is also live streamed on our GUJCOST YouTube channel, which is also attended by a very large number of student teachers from the Gujarat and outside Gujarat. These things. So today's theme, which as it has been already decided by DST Government of India and our SST Council network. So this April month is dedicated to science and society. It's a very comprehensive and a very generalized term. Today, we can't imagine a society without science, and the applications of science uh, uh, not going to the societal benefit. So, whatever we are using, whatever our local social need, economical need, whatever the things for our growth, development, our healthcare, our happiness, our well-being, our communication, everything for this we are depending on the society, everything for science and technology. And the way our needs are also ever expanding. So that's the way the tools and the technologies are designing and devising that way to fulfilling our dreams and desires. So we have just passed through this pandemic situation, and it was not at all a very predicted or very prepared situation. But despite of all unpreparedness, on uncertain conditions, we have through the science and technology today we are in a position to meet each other, to talk each other, and to save lots of lives and livelihoods also. So that is the power of science and technology. In fact, our Honorable Prime Minister, who is a very techno-savvy, and he has coined a new word at the tech arts. So technology in the decade, so it is decade. So this 20 to 30, that technology decade, the how the best we can use and the effectiveness of this science, technology, innovation in every sectors of life, so that India can take the lead to the at this type of challenging situation. So it's a very challenging and a very fulfilling dreams and desires are there. And thanks to the Government of India, the state governments, and every sectors, our premier scientific institutions. So we are having a lot of coordinating programs for everybody and bringing, taking that science to the grassroots level and also to them, to the mainstream. So with this one, as we have the very stalwarts in this science education, science research, scientific policy makings, and the science society needs. So I think we'll be discussing, we'll having a very enlightening and meaningful sessions and some points. And we are here also to see that what are the gray areas are there, so that as a state S&T council or state DST, or we can request our Department of Science and Technology to take care of that points which are supposed to be taken, not considered, or to be taken for the further improvement and further contributions to take science technology in a very bigger and a very these things positive way. So with this word, I once again welcome all of our dignitaries and our delegates, and I wish for a very meaningful session in taking science to the society and society is the science. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Uh, Proceeding with the program, light is a symbol of brightness and prosperity, as sunlight expels the darkness of mind. Similarly, blessing brings in our life prosperity and happiness. So we proceed for lamp lighting. Continuing with the program, now I invite Dr. Depriya Datta. Sir is serving as Head Advisor in the Science for Equity Empowerment and Development, State Science and Technology Program, and National Geospatial Program divisions of this Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. His areas of expertise and research interest are application of geoinformatics for natural resource management, watershed management, S&T cooperation in the context of sustainable developmental goals. He has number of publications in national as well as international journals. He has authored 3 books. Sir, now I request you to proceed for an opening remarks of the program.
Thank you, Dr. Akanksha, and thank you to Dr. Sahu for the requesting me with myself to be here in the inaugural sessions. I think it is this Vigyan Utsav is a testimony of the the network power of the state S&T councils. Their the journey started in 1971. So the last year, like 50 years of this state S&T councils we completed. Now in this evolution process where like the state S&T councils were like in many cases they are the sometimes knowledge institutions, sometimes they have worked as a the different roles they have played, but in the currently they are focused on the catalyzing the state level science, technology and the innovation ecosystem, so that as the states are they evolve now, as a result that the countries the STI ecosystem also evolve. Now, while doing so, the STI ecosystem, that one of the main target of this Vigyan Utsav is to identify the component of the STI ecosystems at the state level. As well as we have focused it on that as an Vigyan Utsav also as an assessment and the working towards a roadmap towards Atmanirbhar Bharat. Because as like as Dr. Sahu was talking about like Honorable Prime Minister's decade, I think it is important, like his dream of Atmanirbhar Bharat is that how at the state level we can create the Atmanirbharata among the different levels of the starting from the scientists, technologists, and to the common people. So with this objectives now, as we are almost the 8 months of this Vigyan Utsav, and it has been attended, like through different social media, like more than 2.5 lakhs of the people of the people across the nations. If we see now that the main component of the STI ecosystems, as we see that they are at the core of it, it's definitely the research and development, and the technology development, then the the capacity building, the institutional and the human capacity building, and then innovations and the technology deployment and usage for the socioeconomic socioeconomic development. So if you see in this context, one hand India's the science and technology has like very well, like the city in which in Gujarat where you're sitting has like one of the harbinger in development of the science and technology of the country, especially the space, the programs and the the development. So if we look at it into the as a testimony, if we look at it into the innovation index, the national innovation index, if you see that India has come from 81, to 281, 256 now, 46 now from 81 over the last the years. At a state level, if you see that the Gujarat stands in like 2021's report of the National Innovation Index of, I'm sorry that was for the global, innovation index. India stands from 81 to 46 in the National Innovation Index. If you see, by which has been brought out by Niti Aayog, Gujarat stands at 8th positions. But at the same time, if you look at it into the Human Development Index, India in the globally is at a flat level of 131, and Gujarat stands at 11th in that race. And I think this is the challenge for the science, for the society, that as we develop the science and technology for the the global common good of the knowledge, that knowledge needs to be converted into the societal development and the economic development. And this is the pathway till now. What we have mostly followed is a technocentric development as an outcome of the European, the industrial revolutions, where the technology has mostly driven that the change processes. And in the coming 25 years, especially in this 75th year of the independence, and coming 25 years, where Honorable Prime Minister has given the responsibility to the scientific and the technological community to drive the national development, we have to find it our own, the models of the science and technology based development, which can impact the majority of the people, the majority of the citizens, so that it's technology, the development, the transfer, the deployment, as well as the absorption capacity within the community, and where we, this, as a result of that, it is Vigyan Utsav, where we are trying to have an outline of the STI ecosystem of the state level and looking into its strength, weakness, and the path forward. This is an opportunity that how really we can take the advantage of the scientific and the technological development for the societal development, so that really we can create a science society setu, a setu between the science and society, where the not only the technological development, it will definitely drive, but we can develop also in life and livelihood centric development process also. And that is the reason, we have this 1 month we are going to discuss about the status of that type of the development, and at the end to develop a assessment at a state level, as well as a roadmap which can give us a model for science and science and technology based society. Because if you see at the 5 pillars of the Atmanirbhar Bharat, the central one is in technological system. So that shows that the importance the government gives of in science and technology based society, where the society where probably the formal innovation system needs to work with the local level innovation systems of the the real stakeholders, like the farmers, the artisans, the people who are on the ground and who constitute the majority of our life and of the national the demography. In this context, we have an advantage of that the India, the majority, India having the majority of the and the young people, so we can think of how this science and technology for our development, we can develop models for youth centric developmental process. So I think I will not take more time, because I know I really welcome and thank Dr. Professor Ken Joshipura Dr. Vinay Kamble, and Dr. Kanan Srinivasan, all are the well-known name in the science and technology in their own field, to guide us that within this framework, how really this the STI ecosystem we can develop at a state level and the central level, and more focus these months that how the science for the society for a more for an Atmanirbhar Bharat, the India centric model we can develop. Thank you very much for like to all of you who are listening to this, and especially my thanks to the the lead speakers who have accepted our invitations, and at the last to Dr. Narottam Sahu and his team, and all the colleagues from the state S&T councils who religiously could take forward this Vigyan Utsav beyond 8 months, having three main challenges: pandemic around, doing it in virtually, it's not easy, and working together at like at least 25 to 26 the councils, even deciding the dates who will take what itself we are doing together. And probably this is a good example of the sustainable development goals number 17, working together and cooperation together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a great inspiration and motivation for all of us and all state S&T council in general, sir. And we thank you for your precious time. And I think you have just set the ball revolving. And as for this agenda that you have set up, and I think with our very eminent experts, we can try our level best to bring out that points and that action.
Yeah, because now the time has come. We must now think of how we really start action, like from Utsav to action. Now that that period of 8 months, 75% of the Utsav is over. Now we have to really convert it into that how we can start really catalyzing the STI ecosystem.
Yeah, thanks, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for motivating us. Now we proceed with the program. We invite our first speaker, Dr. Kanan Srinivasan. He is a director CSIR, MCRI, Bhavnagar, Gujarat. He is a professor of Academy of Scientific and Innovation Research. Sir has published more than 80 research publications, over 2,600 citation with an H index of 32. Sir has published a book on catalysis entitled Catalyst and Surfaces, Characterization Techniques. He has written several book chapters. He has 8 original patents along with 3 granted US patent. Sir has been awarded with many awards such as CSIR Young Scientist Award, INSA Medal for Young Scientists. His research interest is in layered double hydroxide, catalysis for fine and specialty chemicals. Sir, we request you to give a talk on contribution of science in value creation and economic development. Sir, you may proceed.
Thanks, Akansha. I'm so happy to be on this part of Vigyan Utsav conducted by GUJCOST. And I sincerely thank the organizers, especially Narottam Sahu, for giving a kind of a forum for discussing about how we are valuing science and society. And in fact, Dr. Depriya Datta has set a fantastic, opening note, how, the S&T councils are responsible for, it's roughly 5 decades old, how, S&T councils are working together for the overall scientific development, and where, the part of science and society also comes in. I would say, the idea of value creation and economic development is something which is, I consider it's part and parcel of the science, at least in the 20th century. If you have to basically look at it in any sector that you talk to, okay, whether it is a manufacturing sector or agricultural sector or services sector, which contributes largely to the any economy of a nation, and India is no exception for that. I think the science and technology played a stellar role in terms of what do you call bringing, in terms of ease of functioning or efficient way of functioning, efficiency in terms of several parameters, or in terms of what do you call more what do you call sustainable way of functioning. These are would not have been possible. These are would not have been possible. Certain things are largely driven by kind of a necessity. Certain things are largely driven by kind of a, what do you call growth. Okay, so the growth and necessity are the greatest drivers for the what do you call science and technology interventions in the value creation as well as on the economic development. And I consider as we are celebrating the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, I think when India became independent, okay, I felt, the ideology that was taught at that particular point of time in the creation of several institutions of research and education during the time of independence by the then leadership is very clearly what you call leading path for an independent India from the colonial powers. Is that, if India were to what do you call progress as as a promising nation in the future, it would not have been possible unless otherwise science and technology is embraced with it, and that's pretty very much clear in the minds of the people. And the beauty is uh, the entire 75 years of the Indian journey, science and technology always been a kind of a part and parcel of its growth. And how, in terms of value creation, if one were to look at it, if you see science largely in 19th century is pursued for curiosity, largely for curiosity or for understanding the nature. These were the major drivers before 19th century or 19th century or before. But when 20th century, science was having a kind of a greater connect with a kind of an application. Okay, a classic example being the what do you call Haber process. This is probably one of the greatest invention of the 20th century, where I mean, although things were discovered for certain other purposes, but the implication of it on the food security of the world was later realized after 3 4 decades. How the ammonia could play a kind of a significant role in addressing the food security of the world, and this would not have been possible with a kind of science and technology intervention. And there are humpty number of discoveries made both in our country as well as in the world, where especially a country like India, where the advent of what do you call different sectors like agrochemicals, pharmaceuticals, dyes and intermediates, composite materials, engineering materials. Okay, several domains. India played a very significant role through the S&T interventions in its growth. And I'm so happy that recently I happened to read a book of one Mr. Ramani, who talked about how the engineering what do you call chemical industry in India, how it was basically born in the nascent independent India, and today the chemical industry of this country is contributing significantly to the GDP of our country. And I think it is equally important to see almost all the institutions were born at that particular point of time have contributed to the S&T growth. And this institute is no exception. For the benefit of the audience, this institute was what do you call conceptualized when India became independent. The salt was a kind of a commodity which was very essential, inevitable. I don't think anybody in the planet living being in the planet can live without salt. it's such an important commodity. And India became a kind of a, when the partition happened, India was having a kind of a shortage of salt. Okay, and it is important that India requires a kind of a self-reliance on the salt production and manufacturing. And with that, I mean, they felt that science and technology backed manufacturing would be the right way of doing things. And that's how, I mean, this institute gave a kind of a birth. And I'm very happy to say that from a scenario where, I mean, we were having a kind of a short supply of salt, even to feed our Indian population. Okay, I mean, which is roughly one third to one fourth of the Indian population, considering today's age. Even that particular time, we were having a kind of a shortage, and we were contemplating on the import of salt. From there, we have what we call grown as a kind of third largest salt producing nations in the world. And that's the kind of what we call growth trajectory India is what do you call poised to make a kind of a proud contribution. And likewise for, I mean, likewise for many examples, this is what do you call it? This can be reflected. And in fact, I mean, there are few, I mean, very good what do you call documentaries brought out by both INSA as well as DST. It's a kind of a classic reflection of how the science has basically imparted a kind of an what do you call progress of the society. I would like to say one story here. Okay, I mean the theme that was taken for the month of April, as Dr. Narottam Sahu was telling, it's on science and society. Okay, I think, I mean, there are two ways by which one can look at this issue. One is science for the society is one, and where, I mean, we do a kind of a science discoveries which makes a kind of an impact in the society, or science with the society. Okay, I mean, science for the society and science with the society, where, I mean, the society will become a kind of an integral part of the development of science or in the implementation of the science. And I'm going to share one story. Okay, I mean, that will probably give a kind of a way by which how science can make a big difference in the society. This is with a concept of science with the society, where, I mean, something like around two and a half, I mean, roughly 3 decades back, this institute brought a small twig of a seaweed with the hope that, I mean, the seaweed, we would try to cultivate them and then see whether, I mean, any kind of a marine biological studies one can do. It's a typical attitude of a scientist when it was bought. It was nothing of any what do you call great significance. Though, I mean, there was a knowledge available on its application elsewhere in the world, and as far as India is concerned, it was absolutely not available. And they said, I mean, why don't we acclimatize this and then make it to sea? And with this, I mean, growth of this particular seaweed, which was grown in the Indian waters, I mean, way back roughly around 2.5 decades back, and we felt that, I mean, this is something which is a kind of an initiative which could be basically integrated with the society. And we felt that, I mean, once we acclimatized, once we understood, once we developed the process for the cultivation of the seaweeds, we felt that this particular concept can be extended with the society for their engagement and participation. And that's how, I mean, and this is has to be done in a kind of a coastal environment, and this requires a lot of what do you call interventions by the coastal fishermen community. So with this in the back of mind, they what do you call we gave a kind of a sensitization for the what do you call the fishermen community to engage in the seaweed cultivation. And serendipitously, we also felt that when we basically crush the seaweeds, it's going to have a kind of a significant impact. We get a kind of a juice. We get a kind of a juice, which we call it as a seaweed sap. And this seaweed sap has a kind of an impact on the crop productivity. Okay, and this was a serendipity discovery. And once we observe this, because science is all about observation, once we observe this, we wanted to validate it. So we validated this concept across 20 different states of the country over at least more than 35 different crops, where the seaweed sap was tested for its efficacy. And the beauty is, it was showing a kind of an increase in the crop productivity, ranging from 10% to 37%, depending on the nature of the soil, depending on the nature of the crop. And a kind of what do you call, and this would not have been possible because of the cultivation done by the coastal populace, which is basically taken by the industry, and the industry which was then a startup. Okay, I mean, it started with a kind of a, I mean, the startup culture we are talking about here was something like around, the culture was there 2 decades back also, and a startup which is now grown into a kind of a roughly around a 150 crore company. And the most important and satisfying thing is the involvement of the industry and the society is now influencing the farmers. Okay, I mean, the farmers are largely getting benefited out of this intervention, where they were getting a kind of an what do you call additional income because of this particular what do you call product, which is used by the Indian farmers, creating a kind of a fantastic value creation right from the fisherman community through the industry to the farmers, making a kind of a great what do you call value chain creation across the entire what do you call spectrum of people. And this is exactly would not have been possible unless otherwise a scientific intervention has been possible in terms of cultivation, in terms of validation, in terms of what do you call understanding the reasons thereof. This would not have been possible. And this is a very classic example where the economy impact will be several thousand crores. Several thousand crores has been basically a kind of an economic impact, and the discovery has been created. And likewise, if you really have to see with that $2.7 trillion of an Indian economy, if one were to look at it, I mean, the science and technology's role on this economy building, that it will be extremely, extremely significant. But this might not be directly witnessed, but it is what do you call, if one were to do a kind of an assessment, a true assessment of how science and technology would have what do you call influenced on this growth, we could clearly see the impact how it has made. So I mean, I think science with the society and science for the society is always there and will be there, and it is part and parcel of the scientific ecosystem. And of course, I mean, the issue, what do you call, doesn't end here. As Dr. Datta talked about, the challenges are really, really large in the coming years, because I mean, it's not only about what do you call the growing population, the desiring middle income economy, the increasing the lower income economy. These are all going to put a tremendous amount of impact on the SNT-led what do you call solutions in a greater pace. Like for example, be it on energy, be it on a kind of a greater health. COVID has really taught us a lesson. I mean, how I mean health can jeopardize the entire economy, even in a shortest span of what do you call the time frame of the mankind. And the food, water, all these are all going to be a kind of a greater challenges which we are going to get at. And that's the reason, I mean, if one were to look at that 17 sustainable development goals, what do you call achieving those goals by 2030. Everyone is trying hard, but what is important is it is very clear that these goals are extremely relevant, extremely important for the sustainable planet Earth, where India is part and parcel of it. And for this, I think the innovation ecosystem, especially in the science and technology space, needs to be strengthened significantly. And I somehow, I mean, I felt there has been a kind of a stagnation in terms of what you call R&D investment on the science and technology space. I think that requires a kind of a stronger push. countries which have what do you call become independent. There are few countries. We have been one of the most promising countries. Something like around 60 to 80 countries got independent around that time, and India became independent. And we have done significantly well from a kind of a ground zero to whatever the level that we are today. And nationally and internationally, if you have to globally position ourselves, we've been doing excellently well. But that's not enough. And for this, I mean, the investment in the scientific R&D needs to increase. And in fact, I mean, our full-time equivalent researchers, this has already been, there's no brainer in it, because this has been discussed at many forums. And certainly, I mean, we need to, what do you call, increase the number of full-time equivalent researchers for what do you call a greater impact that we will be creating. Because the next 25 years are going to be, I mean, still when India is becoming 100, we should be basically celebrating this next 25 year story much more significantly than the preceding 75 years old story. And that could not have been possible with a kind of a what do you call significant scientific intervention that we need to. And as far as I mean, this is as far as building the kind of a scientific temper in the country. And the second important thing is, I think we need to have a kind of a we have been doing it, but somehow, I mean, we need to have develop a kind of a newer designs and methodologies for effective science and technology communication with the society. And I think the social media has given a kind of a larger connect. When Dr. Datta was talking about 2.5 lakhs, I felt very happy about it. But I mean, I would be very happy if it is something like around 2.5 crores, because I mean, it is going to affect something like of the order of, because everyone is at the end of the day, I mean, a guy who is what do you call living in the remotest corner of the village, or in a kind of a cushiest what do you call building of a country, everyone is influenced by the science. So I think we need to have newer ways of science communication. One of the classic example is India International Science Festival, which we have been doing it in the last 6 7 years, has been a classic what do you call reflection of how we connect with the society. So I think our engagement with the society needs to be strengthened for it to value it better. Where I mean the visibility of the scientists, the visibility of the science educators in the minds of the people would improve. I mean, I think I was feeling very happy when I was what do you call seeing Narottam on the video. Behind the scenes, I mean, two scientists' photographs were there. I think, I mean, this is to be what do you call it? This culture needs to be inculcated with the society, for which science communication is extremely important. Where I mean the participation by the society, where I mean we are telling science for the society and science with the society, will make a kind of a greater connect with the what do you call with the society on the whole. And for which I think the third important thing is we must celebrate our scientific achievements. So we should be, I mean, aware. It's not about what do you call the some of the very significant science achievements needs to be celebrated. All important, impactful scientific achievements needs to be celebrated significantly. The more the amount of the Utsav is because of bringing people together, bringing a section of classes of people together, and that way, I mean, we can get a kind of a greater what do you call connect with the people. So I think we must what do you call do a lot of engagement in the science achievement celebrations, which will make a kind of a greater way of connecting with the society and all what do you call stakeholders at large. So with this, I mean, I once again thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to share some of my views on this particular what do you call occasion while celebrating the Vigyan Utsav. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an inspiring story of your life. Definitely, it's high time to link the association of new knowledge and innovation in a well established ecosystem. Sir, GUJCOST has also started the celebration of science achievements. Uh, so, with through your words, we are also highly motivated. So we'll continue with this. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Proceeding with the program, now I invite Dr. Vinay Bhushan Kamble. Sir is an eminent scientist and the former director of Vigyan Prasar, Government of India. Dr. Kamble has been contributing in the field of popularizing science since 1978 when he joined the Vikram Sarabhai Community Science Center. From here onwards, his expedition took him to join the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. When he became the director of Vigyan Prasar, he conceptualized the idea of Vigyan Rail. Dr. Kamble was also associated with the Doordarshan in collaboration with the Indian Space Research Organization for establishing the network of EduSat satellite. Sir Sir will give a talk on science for social development. Sir, over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Akansha. Dr. Narottam Sahu, Dr. Kannan Srinivasan, my friend Dr. Kamal Dayan, and also Mr. Devapriya. Uh, well, so now as Dr. Akanksha said that so now I have been uh, in the field of science popularization for last say, almost obviously 45 to 50 years. And now this year we are celebrating the Amrit Vigyan Utsav. Yes, it is true. It's a really a great, uh, um, I mean, it's a opportunity for us to first to I mean say, to acknowledge I mean say, what all developments have taken place in science and due to science and technology in our society, and also to look forward as to what are the I mean, say challenges, I mean, say now which we are still facing, and as we are solving the problems through science and technology, our challenges are also increasing. You see, they are becoming bigger and bigger. So now, I shall, I mean, say now, it's just convey to you about, I mean, say certain these aspects. How do we, I mean, say now, go about uh, our, I mean, say now, uh, making science and technology uh, a wheel for development of the society. I shall be showing you obviously some slides. So I hope obviously now that will help focus obviously now the attention. And yes, I think you are able to see. Can you see these slides?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So now, I mean, as Dr. Akansha said that my topic is science and technology for societal development, and this is really I will say now something that we are hoping for. Say, for, say now for last I will say now decades. So now we know that say now any society which has adopted science and technology or which has assimilated science and technology is the one say now that can develop faster, that can I mean say now be a society say which really I mean say can be called I mean say now a developed society. Okay. So now say now, but then say now the funny part is that say we have been working in this field of say science and technology communication, science and technology popularization. Okay, but then I mean says what is really happening is that say we are running and still I mean say we are standing still. You it's something like a paradox. Okay, but even after putting in our best of the efforts to inculcate a scientific attitude among the masses for a number of years, now what do we find? We find ourselves where we began. You know, if you have read, I will say, this Alice in Wonderland, then say the Alice and the Red Queen, which you see here, this is the Red Queen and Alice. See, they were standing under a tree, and suddenly they start running. Now the fun is that say now with uh, so now they, but they, however fast they ran and whatever time they ran, it happened that they remained under the same tree. So now they were not, although they were running for a very long time, still they continued to be under the same tree. So now that's what is happening. At least say we are say now trying to trigger an interest in science, trying to let's say inculcate a scientific attitude among the people. and at least I have been in the field for almost 45, 50 years, and still I find that I will say now we are, I will say, having the same story, and then on the contrary, challenges are becoming I will say larger and larger. All right. Now, once it happened that, say, in DST, we were having a meeting, I would say, with Professor Yashpal, and say, regarding, I mean, say, some of the programs of, let's say, DST, that's the National Council for Science and Technology Communication and Vigyan Prasar, regarding, I mean, say, now, some programs with dealing with science and technology popularization. Okay. But then so, he made a very keen observation that it's really tragic that often educated people with scientific background lack scientific temper. I think this is the greatest malady of our country. I mean, see, you may have people who are educated, you may have people say who are also who even has a scientific background, but then what happens is that they lack scientific temper, they lack scientific attitude, they lack scientific outlook. Okay, so now this is really something which is a very sorry state of affairs, and that is why this explains that why our efforts directed towards inculcation of scientific temper, social and economic development meet with only a limited success. You see. Yes, my friend Devapriya Datta, say he told you about the many say now programs and schemes which DST comes up with the idea of say now assimilating or say introducing say science and technology in the society for the development. Okay, and also obviously Dr. Karnan, he also obviously said about how the kind of new say now scientific discoveries of the science and technologies are being utilized for the scientific for societal development. But then it's really, I mean, say, this is something that I mean, say, what we really lack is the scientific um, temper, even say amongst those say, who have a scientific background. I think this is a very serious issue, and that's probably the crux of the matter. And we really need to see that say, now this somehow we are able to address this problem, and we are able to, I say now, somehow I will say now get over this problem. Okay, now say now I don't really want to tell you about scientific temper. Most of you are in the field of the science communication, science popularization. But I only I will say now that say now just narrate. That's a scientific temper doesn't or a scientific attitude. It only means a willingness to change. You see, we cannot have a very traditional, I said, dogmas, and we don't, and then sit down with no willingness to change, come what may. We should have also, I will say, a willingness to search for truth without any prejudice. That's very important. Then cause and effect relationships. When something happens, there has to be a cause. Then judgment based on facts. Sometimes we are so say now we jump to the judgment. I mean say without even checking the facts. And then what is really important is to distinguish between fact and reality. This is something say we often I mean say just miss. Should not happen. But then I mean say now the question is okay. Now having identified I mean say now these issues, then how do we go about it? Well, the scientific temper or scientific, it's really an attitude of mind, a way of life. So scientific temper, it's really a way of life. It has to become a part of your life, a manner of viewing facts and information. Okay, and well, if you are an individual, then it only forms an integral part of
Okay,
his
small
personality.
intervention. I
Hello?
believe your slides are not moving. You're moving the slides, I believe.
No, are you able to see the slides?
We are seeing only the first slide.
Oh no, I don't know. I have really
That's
moved.
what I mean. We could see only, I mean, the first slide. You are in a slideshow mode and you are sharing the what do you call screen. So you are moving
Oh,
at your
then
end. We are not
what
getting
should
it.
be done?
Dr. Kamble, what I suggest, like, whether this, the sharing mode you have given, the next to that, you see there is a reading mode, which is showing a book you give there because it takes less bandwidth. Because the sharing on the full screen sharing takes more bandwidth, and that's the problem. So that next to it,
Okay, okay. So
left to
then,
it is a reading mode.
okay, in that case, I will say I will not, I will say share the slides. I will, I can, I will say now go ahead. I mean, say, even I mean, say, without showing the slides, but that is okay. So you can do that. So now just give me just half a minute. Give me half a minute.
Sir, can I do the needful?
Or yes, I mean, say, or
We can, sir, we can
you can
show the slide from here.
you can. I mean, say, show. I think
Okay,
so. You can show
sir,
this.
first you have to do the stop sharing.
Oh, okay. I have to stop sharing. Okay, stop sharing. All right. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, all right. Just give me half a minute. Okay. Now I think so. Now, where are we? Are you sharing the
Yes, yes,
slides?
yes, yes. Now it is okay.
So
Now it is visible, sir.
now it is this slide number 5, I believe.
No, it is slide number two, sir.
It's slide number 2.
Two, sir.
This is
Okay.
slide number 2, sir. Yes.
All right. All right. So then let me just get back. Uh,
Akansha, you can move it to
okay. It's
slide number
okay. All
4.
right. All right. So
4
go
or
ahead.
5.
Yes, sir.
Okay, go
Because
ahead.
he was talking
So
in
now, I
scientific
mean,
paper.
say,
Yes, sir.
we were just talking about, I mean, say, the scientific paper.
Yes, sir.
And I think you are all able to see, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Scientific
now
paper.
we can.
Slide
Okay.
number four,
Okay.
sir.
Now, okay. Now, I mean, say, now, so, but then say it is now really tragic. Go change the slide. So, can change the slide.
Yes.
Huh. So now, okay. So it's really an attitude, and it's an attitude of mind, a way of life, a manner of viewing facts and information. You see. And so, as I was telling you, on an individual level, it forms an integral part of one's personality. So, obviously, this is what we need to really develop. And say that somehow is becoming more and more difficult with the under the present circumstances. Okay. In the context of a society, it decides how the community will approach a given problem, you see, and leads to the evolution of value judgments the community would cherish. This is important. So now I will say we distinguish between I will say this at individual level and also at the societal level. So in short, it's an attitude that shapes patterns of individual and group behavior. So this is something that we need to remember. And then I mean the next one tells you that say now some of the new technologies, say which we have developed, which we have I mean say assimilated to a great extent, as Dr. Devipri was saying and Dr. Kannan were saying, that's the information and communication technology, biotechnology, bioinformatics, nanotechnology, nanobiology, and say artificial intelligence. Now, these are the new technologies, and they have already, I mean, say, been changing the society, I mean, say, for the better. So now this is something, I mean, say, now we really, now see, and earlier, I mean, say, we adopt these technologies, earlier we assimilate these technologies. I mean, say, now we'll really be able to move ahead, and I mean, say, now our society would be a society which will develop fast with a scientific attitude. Okay. The next one, milestones which India has achieved till now. I think is some of them, I may say, which I have tried to say now as a list here. Food security and say green revolution, you know, until I would say now the 60s, 70s, we had to I would say now import a lot of food grains. We became I mean, this self say, supporting as regard the food security. Then you know the Amul saga, especially those in Gujarat, the cooperative milk movement, and then this fast breeder reactor, this nuclear power, space science and technology. We have these satellites. We are, I mean, say, uh, as regard these satellites, I think we are one of the best. Okay, and launch vehicles also. Now, communication, this penetration of computers, telephones, landlines, mobile, so these we know, especially during this COVID, I mean, say, time of these 2 years, how I mean, say, the computers or the telephones, especially mobile telephones, have penetrated our lives. I really don't have to tell you because we are all a part of it. So this is how technology was forced upon us, but this we adopted it, and this now we really have achieved. Some of the more examples, I mean, will be. So now there have been, I mean, projects like in Mumbai, electricity generation from municipal waste. We have this fast breeder reactor, say, especially at Kalpakam. And you know that, say, now when the cryogenic engine say, technology was denied to us, say, we had to go in for development of cryogenic engine, light combat aircraft, okay, which is crossing the sonic barrier. And in every panchayat today we have a digital library. Say now, and say we have this our own pressurized heavy water reactor, and then say now telephone penetration, which I already told you about. Oh, the next one. So now to next one, Pulam. To meet the needs of 1 billion plus people, when we say this science and technology, say must penetrate the society. But then at the same time, we say we must remember that say the year after year, say our population is growing. And say already we are say 1.38 billion. And then I mean say now we have these problems of this feeding. I mean say now 1.38 billion mouths. Say we have this agriculture and food processing. We have to have a second revolution for this purpose. And then we have to have a reliable and quality electric power. We know that say during these COVID times, of course, I mean, say we switched over to the mobile, but you go little away from any urban center and say there won't be any reliable and quality electric power. With the result that I mean you could not use the communication technology. You could say also online classes which you could not attend. No, the previous one.
It's by mistake.
And then similarly, say in the case of education, healthcare, information and communication technology. So these are closely and interrelated, and when effectively addressed, would lead to food, economic, energy, and national security. This is what will bring about the development of society, change in society, and change in the lives of all of us. Okay, the next one. Okay, so now some of the problems that really, I mean, say need solutions. Say, and these are really big problems. I mean, there is no single solution for that. We know that how difficult it is to predict the monsoon, and with the climate change now, say now the monsoon also has become erratic. Let's say it doesn't show a pattern, let's say, which we had, I will say, a few years ago or decades ago. So now, if we are able to obviously predict the monsoon, despite I will say this changing uh, uh, the I mean say climate. So now I think say now that will be a great help. So now what happens is that say another thing is energy. Have to depend more and more on the renewable energy. And then say now photovoltaics is one thing, say which has already picked up in India. But then the efficiency of the photovoltaics is hardly 12 to 15%. Can we, I mean, say go up to 45 to 50% using carbon nanotubes? And if you can do it, it will be really a revolution say, in the field of energy. Then, I mean, say now we know that say now, especially the study of all proteins which are expressed by the genome of a cell, that is very important. I think say that we have also experienced during this COVID times. I mean, say when we had to, I mean, say now study the proteomics, I mean, say proteins of the this viruses or cells and all that. And then earthquakes. Especially, I mean, say, now earthquakes are so unpredictable. Again, I mean, say, there is no specific method for this purpose. And especially, say, our, I mean, say, some Himalayan terrain. So now it is so very prone to earthquakes. So now we really, I mean, say, need to find, I mean, this problem and the solutions to some of these problems. So then, when we talk about the inculcation of scientific outlook, this now what happens is that spread and penetration of technology alone cannot guarantee social and economic growth. This is important. When we talk about the penetration of science and technology, often we consider only technology. And I mean, say science, I mean, say is put in the backyard. That should not happen. So spread and penetration of technology. Say now, technology alone cannot guarantee. No, no, this earlier one. When I tell you, I mean, you change. Okay. So now, and equitable distribution of resources. This is very important. We know that some of the now communities they use I mean, say, a lot of I mean, say, the resources, and some don't get at all. They should. I mean, we have equitable resources. So now these are all problems which are interconnected, interrelated. So what is required is the public understanding of science and technology and inculcation of scientific outcome. But how could we achieve this? Say, well, it's really difficult. And this is what I mean. Say we have. I used to talk. I mean, say now for 45, 50 years ago when I started. I mean, say took up a career say in science and technology popularization, and still we are talking this about the same thing. So as I mean, say now our I mean say, this science and technology move forward. So I mean, say now that the problems also become I mean, say, larger. The next one. Next one.
Yes.
Huh. So now, as we know that now there is a to trigger an interest in science. Okay, to essentially communication of spread and penetration of technology. So what we do is that we have been using the machine now technologies, like radio, TV programs, satellite radio, etc. Okay, we have science that has then say folk traditional media. It's a science. We have science centers, science cities. Like we have here in Ahmedabad, museums, planetaria, and computers, interactive radio, TV programs, internet, etc. We do have. But then all this we use as technology. We should use this technology to really, I mean, say, inculcate a scientific temper. So we have to produce, I mean, say, programs. We have to produce, I mean, say, now, we have to utilize, I mean, say, these media, these technologies for really, I say now, developing a scientific attitude. What is the next one?
Yes.
Yeah, next one. Go ahead. Okay. So now one such example I want to give that was Vigyan Rail. That was I say now it was in 2003 2004 that there were I mean, say 12 coaches, and the idea was to depict the I mean say the progress India has made in the fields of science and technology, and say now say each some 18 departments and ministries of government of India which deal with science and technology, which are associated with technology, science and technology. They are participated. And then I mean say this train. Go ahead, next one.
Yes.
So this train, next one. Uh, so now I mean say now this train I mean say now aroused so much of interest. You see, this is at Ahmedabad. You can see I mean say now the number of children, number of people say who are queuing up to have a peep into this. So now what do we can do from here? People want to know. People they have I mean, say some sort of say now inner yearning, to learn something more, to know the science, to understand science, and then see there are hardly the possibilities, hardly any say now this thing say means to do that. So now these are the kind of things that where I mean say you interact directly with people. These are equally important, like say this like virtual platforms. But then say this is something. Say these are the kind of programs we really need to obviously now go ahead with. After this Vigyan Rail, there were I mean say the Department of Science and Technology also ran I say now this science train say with different I mean, uh, uh, I mean, say themes. And then that also became very popular. Next one. Okay.
Yes.
Next one. Yeah. So, I mean, say now in the first initial ones which was developed, you see, during 2003, 2004, the beginner moved to say 60 places. And then, I mean, say now it moved for 8 months and some 5 million people visited that. Now, so now it covered about 15,000 kilometers. So that was really a milestone in the field of science and technology. It not only it generated interest in science, not only triggered an interest in science, people also now say where and so many of these announcers in a few cases we had I mean, say, some sort of follow-up, and it turned out as a Vigyan Rail really, I mean, say now caused so much of interest that some of them have even taken up science or means as their means, career. So this is really what I mean say now we should do. Say we should be able to uh, now expose the children, expose the general community, say to the thrill of science or thrill of science as a career or technology as a career. Okay, next one.
Yes.
Uh, Next one. So, I mean, at the same time, that's say most of the, in many cases, say engineering sciences or say many other applied sciences, we always use the principles of basic sciences. There cannot be applied sciences without basic sciences. You know that. See. And a thorough understanding of basic sciences alone can help one understand and appreciate their applications in engineering. Okay. This is something which I have myself experienced when I was an emeritus professor in the engineering college for about 2 years. So what is really the crux of the matter is that we should never lose connection with basic sciences. That will help us, I mean, say now, understand, I mean, say now, the technology better. That will also, I mean, say, help us, I mean, say now, also think scientifically. Next one.
Yes.
Okay. So now when we define the role of science, the primary role of science, okay, is in enabling the people to comprehend the socio-political reality. This is important. What so people, if science has to become a part of your life, okay, and we should be able to comprehend the reality around us. Maybe it's a social, political, scientific, I would say now, as regards our say resources like say water or maybe anything, you see, or environment, okay, and through scientific method. Okay. Not just take, I mean, say, listen to some people and jump to a conclusion. No, that cannot happen. So through scientific methods, so that the struggle for justice and development can be planned. So science and technology is really a social issue. So now it is only when I mean, say now, mm, so now So now, what can how can it happen? We have to have a basis of reliable data and logical thinking, and this only comes. This is another way of putting this scientific thinking. So this is what it is. I mean, say now scientific thinking is not confined only to science or technology. It has to be a part of our daily lives, in social life also. So now, once I mean, say this happens, then I think say our country will become a say we become a nation of say now scientifically thinking. Go ahead.
Yes.
So, and in the process of education, about which I think said Dr. Devapuri also made a mention, and also Dr. Kandan made a mention. The process of education is thus defined. How is it defined? As spreading the method of science among the people to enable them to understand the obstacles which prevent their development. This is where education comes in. And education we cannot have without science and technology. That is equally important. Okay. So which so now let's say we have to have say now this method of science among the people to enable them to understand the obstacles which prevent their development and plan their struggles for justice. It's only then, I mean, say, we can say that I say now science and technology say has really penetrated society, has really assimilated by the society, where I mean say now people can take part in the decision making along with the planners, along with the scientists, along with the politicians, and it's only then that I mean say now we will be able to say now have a society say which is developed in the truest sense of the word. Okay, now go ahead.
Yes.
Huh. So, and then another thing is that related issue is scientific literacy. You see, when you read a newspaper, you can follow with ease and also understand and interpret news, okay, which are related to education, sports, politics, etc. You can do it, right? But if we can also understand with the same ease news items, articles on topics such as the PSLV or GSLV launches, Chandrayaan, genetically modified crops, or say as use of CNG for transport, COVID-19, and so on, then it will be said that say, we are scientifically literate. It is then that I mean, say, our society, this societal development will take place. So it is when this happens, then I mean, say now all people say now they can actively participate in the decision making process. So it becomes people's movement then. So that is really important. It has to become a people's movement. Okay, next one. Now, so finally, I mean, say now what the crux of my talk, I mean, say now is that, so now we need to think scientifically. Okay. So now thinking itself is a rare phenomenon. And quite often we jump to conclusions without thinking or just listening to somebody, I mean, say now take it for granted that is right. And then I mean, say now thinking is a rare phenomenon itself. Thinking scientifically is even rarer. Okay. So now this is something we need to develop. Next one. Okay.
Yes.
So I think this is the but what is the rarest of the rare is thinking scientifically and acting scientifically. So this has to be our I mean, say now main say the things that we have to really adopt in our life. That we have to think scientifically and act scientifically. So, I mean, say this is all that. So now I wanted to really tell you that. What is in all this development and science and technology? What is really important is the scientific thinking, and you have to think scientifically, act scientifically, and when this happens, then our society, and only then the societal development will take place. I hope, I mean, say now more attention is paid, I mean, say in most of the, I mean, say now schemes of say DST or CSIR, that I mean, say this does happen. And then say we also, I mean, say we need to, people also need to take an initiative that I mean, say now that say science is really simple. But it's what it really matters is a way of our thinking, looking at things, you see, scientifically and acting scientifically. I think now with this, I mean, I shall conclude, I mean, my talk. Hope, I mean, now I was able to tell you a few, I mean, things, I mean, now at ground level. And I do appreciate the, and the, I mean, the big schemes that which DST and CSIR come up with. At the same time, what lies at the crux of the matter are really, I mean, these issues which are, I mean, now at ground level. And I hope we are able to adopt. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for motivating us. You're the finest example of science for societal development for us, and we are privileged to listen to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks.
Now, proceeding with the program, I invite our third speaker, Professor K.N. Joshipura, sir. He is a retired professor from Department of Physics, Sardar Patel University. Sir is a vice president at Indian Association of Physics Teachers as well as Gujarat Science Academy. Sir's expertise is in atoms, molecule, and quantum scattering. Sir has published more than 65 articles as first author and 113 articles as co-author. Sir, I request you to give a talk on science, education, and scientific temper. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Namaskar. Thank you, Abar. It's a pleasure to be associated with this countrywide program of India at 75, the Amritam Mahotsav. And as a part of that, now we are having a series of talks on various aspects of science in the society. It's a pleasure to be associated over here, and I suppose there are students and teachers also in this gathering. I'm not sure about it, but uh, the
Yes,
theme
sir.
that is given to me.
They have
Hello.
joined through YouTube channel.
That's very nice of you. It's always a pleasure. And it would be particularly a pleasure when we come face to face with students and talk it in an interactive way and they would ask questions. That would be very nice. That would be very nice.
Yes, sir.
I'm thankful to the organizers who have given me the theme of the talk, as science education for scientific temper. That's indeed very nice. Some of the earlier speakers have also mentioned in their own way. But so, what is scientific temper? Can we define it? Or the students and teachers would say, is it there in our syllabus? Is there anything like scientific temper in our textbooks? Well, uh, I'm not sure about it. I don't know whether it is there in the textbook, but I am reminded of a famous historic experiment that tells you everything about scientific temper in the beginning. It was performed about 400 years back, and that was done by Galileo. Let me try to see and show a picture of say two towers. If I show you this, can you see this clearly? You can see towers
Yes, sir.
and two objects. It's a leaning tower of Pisa. Okay, then I don't have PPT, but please keep it in mind. It's about the famous experiment of falling bodies performed by Galileo Galilei. In the picture, you can see an old idea, Aristotelian idea of Greek philosophy, which says that heavier object falls faster, lighter object would fall slower. And people believed in this without any verification, and they continued for centuries and centuries together. And then Galileo was a man with scientific temper. He would say, "Oh, really? Do all the objects fall the same rate, or they have the same acceleration, or heavier objects falls faster?" Galileo performed an experiment from the Leaning Tower of Pisa. He took a very heavy object and a less heavier object and released them simultaneously. Contrary to the belief, he found that the objects would fall at the same rate. The acceleration due to gravity is the same. That's what we say. And this was the foundation of these and other experiments for the foundation of Newton's laws of motion, Newton's law of gravitation. And so here is an example of scientific temper. What is scientific temper? It is something in which we don't believe whatever has been said and whatever has been written, but we try to experiment, we try to understand through our experimentation. So then we try to know by doing. It's a spirit of inquiry. We ask questions, is it really so? And then we can perform this experiment even today. I have an experience of doing such activities with students in the community science center at Vallabh Vidyanagar, and they enjoy doing it. We tell the students to do it by themselves. In fact, we try to analyze and we try to extend it to very light objects like small pieces of paper, and then try to see, oh, what is happening. So here is an example of the scientific temper. It is the spirit of inquiry. We don't just believe it, we try to examine, we try to analyze, and in fact, this is how science develops. It starts with observation, then experiments, and then try to understand it through explanation or what we call theory, and that is how it develops. So, this is the idea of scientific temper, which should have been there, but in our textbooks, it is not there. This Galileo's experiment was removed. Maybe they found it a burden, so they have removed it. Even otherwise, also, there are so many topics in our physics or science textbooks at the school level, and the students find it a burden, and they also ask, is it useful? Oh, well, it becomes a burden, and you don't know really about the applications or uses if the explanation is not given to you. So then it rests on the teachers to explain some background and then try to explain how the basic science is useful. Okay, so then the idea is to explain to them how the scientific discoveries have taken place, inventions have taken place. Essentially, it starts with curiosity. Every child is curious. A child is always happy. Normally, it is happy. Sometimes the child cries also, but it is happy. And why is that the child is happy? It is because It is because I'm sorry, some disturbance over there. It is because the child is always curious, it is happy, the children are happy to know. As the children become students progressively in higher standards, they would become rather formal in education. They even don't ask questions, and so the spirit of inquiry is gone. Actually, learning should be based on inquiry. The learning should be joyful, happy experience, interesting experience. So then it is the duty, it rests on the parents and teachers to make the science learning interesting. In fact, when we talk about science and society, that is the basic theme. Science and society is the basic theme. In the science and society, essentially, we have.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Hello,
Please, yes. You are fine, sir. Thank you. Okay, sir.
can I
Yes, sir.
continue?
Okay. Please, sir.
Okay. When I think of science and
Yeah.
society, uh, what I have in mind is
Okay, okay.
students, then teachers, then parents, and then
Yes,
organizations like
yes, just a
schools
minute.
and
Okay.
colleges and science centers, and even GUJCOST and Department of Science and Technology. So it covers the whole scientific arena, science versus society. And if you make the science learning joyful, interesting, they will develop scientific attitude or scientific temper, and this will create the ability to solve problems. When they develop the ability, they will not find it difficult, they will not find it dull and interesting. People now find science is very difficult, mathematics is difficult. Well, we do not deny that it is difficult, but then mathematics can be made interesting, more meaningful by some activities. And people think of maths lab, mathematics laboratory. We have seen this in our community science center, as I said earlier, and at different places now people have thought about mathematics laboratories. So these things should be promoted, mathematical temper, let us say. And I'm very disturbed or disappointed when people think of lower maths, and they said mathematics is difficult. Let us go for the lower maths. So then, right efforts in this direction are required. So, as I said, scientific temper is broad mindedness, the attitude or broad-minded, open-minded approach. How do we do about this? The simple way is to go beyond the classroom, really beyond the classroom. We take the students outdoor activity tells us various things about the nature, and one of the most important, very interesting outdoor activity which opens up their mind, which extends the horizons of a student, is sky watching. Students should be encouraged to go for astronomical observations, sky watching. They should be able to know, oh, this is a planet and this is a satellite, artificial satellite. These days, the International Space Station will be visible at least from Ahmedabad and nearby areas. And only 3 days back, there was some mysterious phenomenon. It was not mysterious. It turned out to be not a meteor fall, but the rocket debris. And so the new ideas, the new happenings will create, generate curiosity, and they will learn more and more with interest. Stars and planets, let me tell you, stars and planets are not harmful in any way. Let us not believe in old ideas. They are beautiful, they are helpful, they always encourage us to aim high. So that essentially is the idea. With the broad-mindedness, we take up the challenges, and in this year of Amrutam, I wish to recall quite a few things. For example, I want to tell you about students uh, especially to the students, like I'm reminded of Satyana Prayogo, because that was the title, My Experiments with Truth. So I think Mahatma Gandhi was really a man endowed with scientific temper. He did not study science. So that's the idea. For scientific temper, we may not go for scientific studies. Scientific temper is open mindedness, doing something, not just believing something. So Mahatma Gandhi said, "My Atma Katha, my biography is Satyana Prayogo, experiments with truth." So these are some of the things that come to my mind. If we don't do this, then we are restricting the development of the students, and then science education becomes burden. Science and maths education becomes burden, and therefore my urge is to take the students to background of the science, to show them by experiments, tell them the story or history, and make the whole things interesting. These are some of the ideas which I had in mind. And so with this, finally, the aim is to say that learning should not be a burden. There is a small poem in Gujarati which I can repeat in Hindi. ये कहता है कि पढ़ना न बने बोझ, लर्निंग शुड नॉट बी ए बर्डन, पढ़ना न बने बोझ, जैसे कि उत्सव रोज, जिसे हम विज्ञान उत्सव या तो साइंटिफिक या तो साइंस सेलिब्रेशन फेस्टिवल कहते हैं, it becomes really an utsav, provided it becomes interesting. There should be a joy of learning, and then teachers can make it an interesting experience. Community science centers, we have a very good network of science centers in Gujarat under GUJCOST. They can play their own role, and it becomes really an utsav. So these are some of the ideas I had in mind. Thank you so much for inviting me. Very nice of you. Dhanyawad. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for an inspiring session. Hope COVID goes away and every program happens physically so that we can directly interact with the students and make them understand how scientific knowledge through our scientific education. Now I request Dr. Poonam Bhargav, Principal Scientific Officer, to share vote of thanks.
Thank you. I think I'm audible. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Akansha, for uh, taking the program so smoothly. Respected Dr. Devapriya Datta sir, Dr. Vinay Kamble sir, Dr. Kannan sir, Dr. Joshipura sir, our own respected advisor sir, Dr. Narottam Sahu, members from different state SNT councils, our CSC coordinators, teachers, students, and all the staff of Bhuj Coast. I feel humbled today to present this vote of thanks on in this auspicious gathering, and this theme is very important, and the science for society and our speakers. I really thank our so senior speakers who explained in such a very simple language wow, what is science and what is society and what is the interrelationship between science and society and how science can actually benefit the society and how society can benefit from science. And Dr. Devapriya Datta sir took time and came to on this occasion, and he always in his very crisp and very he's very clear and very crisp in whatever he says, and he so nicely said about this science and society thing and how this theme is so very important. I thank you, Datta sir, for sparing your time for the Guj Coast program, and I also thank Dr. Kanan Srinivasan sir, who gave a very brief talk, and he explained in such a lucid manner, on how science can actually lead to prosperity and how science is actually so very important for the society. I thank you, Kamble sir, you are a person of great vision, and I really thank you for your time despite whatever issues you have been having. And really, sir, it is so nice of you to come to this platform. And you rightly said that it is actually the right time to think scientifically as well as to act scientifically. And yes, COVID has actually taught us that, and it has taught us that very well. And actually, it is now the high time that we start acting scientifically as well. I thank you, Dr. Joshipura sir. You explained so very well as to what is scientific temper. You took us through the journey of, with examples how scientific temper can be inculcated in our students. And actually, it is a fact that discovery takes place with the starting of a discovery is always with a query and its ability to find the solution. And you also said that yes, sky gazing is one of the biggest and the most important and entertaining activity, and how that activity is actually improving the scientific temper. I thank our advisor, Sir Dr. Narottam Sahu, who has given us the guidance to conduct this program in such a nice manner. I thank all the GUJCOST staff to take this program smoothly, and I thank all the CSC coordinators, all the students and teachers who have joined us on YouTube. I hope you have had a good time, and I hope that with all the knowledge that we have gathered over here, we will now take play our role in taking science to society. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, ma'am. Let's all are requested to raise for national anthem, please.
Before that, I would like to thanks to all member secretaries, secretaries, director generals, directors of all state S&T councils who are attending this program on our behalf. And I hope the the session has given some sort of insights and thoughts for our actions, for implementations, and our way forward to taking science into society and to make science society setu for the societal development. Thank you.
Yes.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you, everyone, for joining this session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. So we are concluding this session. Thank you.